Hi, I'm Jack Coker, founder of Performance Water Polo Camps and head coach at Pepperdine University men's water polo program. I put together a couple instructional videos for you to take your game to the next level. In these instructional videos, I've incorporated body movement in the water, some passing and shooting techniques and skills, offensive perimeter game as well as defensive game, and then we really focus on the 2-meter position with the offense and defense. I've also incorporated some strength and conditioning videos that would help your fitness level take it to the next level, whether that is a high school game or a college game. Let's get out there and let's get started. Active stretching, probably the most important thing before and after practices. It's extremely important for the athlete to be fully flexible in all aspects. In your shoulders, your limbs, your legs, your hips, your groin, your knees, your torso, your chest, and your back. Even your wrists need it as well as your ankles in this game of water polo. Here are some exercises we're going to bring to you that will help you prepare properly for your max potential in the water. Check these out. Arm swings. Arm swings are important just to get your body going. You're going to notice in many of our exercises that we are actively stretching. It's not a sit and hold position, but we're constantly moving our body in motion. Here you see the players moving their arms in a circular motion, forward and backwards, just loosening up the shoulder prior to getting ready. Do about 6, 8, 10, or 12 each. Here you see the 2-arm swing in a butterfly motion. This just opens up the arms and shoulders a little bit more. Here you notice a different variation of arm swings in front of your body. Just changing it up a little bit and opening up the chest and the lower back and upper back. Elbow spins. This is a great exercise to get your arms ready as well as your elbows and forearms loosened up. Your external and internal wrists. Like I said in the game, you'll notice that wrists are the most important part of shooting the ball. This is a great drill just to have a little fun and change it up a little bit. You're moving your arms in an upward, straight out, and then lower motion. Here you see 1 single arm swings. Notice here the player is really turning his torso, opening up, almost in a shooting position with both the left and right hand. Going down to the lower part of your body, your legs. This is a great exercise of sitting down. You're having your hand pulls and you're working on your quads. Pulling on your quads. This also opens up your hip flexors in your groin. For water polo players, you'll notice we get a lot of injuries in our groin and hip flexors. It's extremely important that we focus on that prior to getting in the water. Here you can see how the player is leaning forward and also opening up his chest area, which makes him lean on his back. That really puts a lot of pressure on the hip and groin area to stretch those out as well. Here's an exercise to stretch out the same aspect, the quads, the hips, the groin area. Stretching out the hip, groin, and back. When he's laying on his back like that, it really opens up and puts pressure and pulls on that quad for you. See, this player is actually pretty flexible. He can grab his toes and put a lot of pull on that hamstring and lower back. You notice here, a lot of players actually pull their foot into themselves instead of having their knee on the outside. It's a little less pressure on the kneecap right here, where you're having your knee in front of you instead of behind you. This is a great lower back and glute stretch. If you need assistance by a partner, they can come back here and push on your back right here and try to get you a little bit lower than you were able to do on your own. The butterfly stretch. It's a great exercise to get your groin and your hip flexors ready to go. Another exercise for your glute as well as your hip flexor. Here you want to really try to torque your body in a twisting motion and get that knee all the way around on the backside. This opens up your lower back as well as your vertebrae to release a lot of pressure. A lot of our passers and shooters do this drill prior to getting in the water. This opens up their shoulders, their rotator cuff. You can do it both internally and externally, pushing the arm forward as well as backwards. Be careful here on this stretch that you don't push too far. You'll feel it pulling on your rotator cuff, so just be gentle on this one. This is a great lower back exercise or stretch that opens up your hips, your vertebrae, as well as your upper back. This is a great exercise to show the egg beater. If you're able to pull your knees as high as you can up into you and the egg beater, you're going to notice you have great foundation once you get in the water with your egg beater. These are just some standard positions of stretching that you can do prior to your active stretching. Band work. I would have to personally say it's probably prevented injuries on myself. Utilizing bands in a throwing sport strengthens, prevents, as well as conditions your shoulder for the throwing motion. I highly recommend that you use bands 15 minutes prior to every workout. Come check out some of these drills that we have for you today. With the bands, you can work on your own, just tying the band up on anything that's stable. This allows the resistance for yourself. Here you see a player doing more of an internal-external row, a scarecrow exercise that we call. This strengthens the throwing arm in a motion of receiving the ball as well as throwing the ball. External rotation. This is a great exercise to make sure you keep your elbow tight to your body and only utilizing your arm or your shoulder to maneuver your wrist. Make sure your elbow stays as close as possible to your body, allowing only your shoulder to maneuver your wrist in and out. Internal rotation. Your internal is very similar to the external. It's very crucial that your elbow stays in tight. This really utilizes the strength in your rotator cuff and the muscles around it. Also, you notice the player here is not moving in a fast twitch motion. This is a personal favorite of mine. This is almost like you're faking the ball in the water. If you're noticing the player is going in a circular motion, just stretching out his shoulder. This allows for great flexibility once you get in the water with your fake. This other motion, you're emulating the throwing motion in the water. If you notice, he's using his core and he's crunching as he's coming through with his shoulder. It's really focusing on the lower back and stomach muscles as you're coming through on a throw. This other exercise is very similar to the throwing motion as your tricep push. You're coming through on your triceps, really snapping through, as though you're throwing the ball on a last-minute shot. This is a great exercise to make sure that you're focusing on both sides of the shoulder. It's important that you make sure that you strengthen not only the front, but the rear deltoids. The other great thing about bands, not only you're working your strengthening your shoulders or your upper body or lower body, it's also a great thing to utilize for stretching. If you notice some of the techniques here, he's using it as stretching as well as strength. Here in this exercise, try your best to focus on the wrist. Once you're coming through on here, really snap your wrist at the end to strengthen the forearm muscles. Here you see the player doing it from both angles, from the front position as well as the back. The push drill. Visualize pushing yourself forward. In this, you'll notice your front and your lower back will be tightening as you're going through the motion. Here you have the player doing some front rows, working on that rear deltoid and lat muscle. The band offers endless amount of opportunities for strength training and flexibility. Get out there and get one. As we get into our active stretching, it's very important that you're making sure that you're putting yourself through a little bit of a workout, a 10 to 15-minute workout prior to getting in the water. Through your push-ups, your sit-ups, your squats, your pull-ups, or your plank positions. Here in the push-up, I want you to notice the body of the player is in a flat position. His bottom is not sticking up in the air, or he's not slouched or arcing his back. Here we have our players do many different hand positions. Wide positions to narrow positions to alternating one high, one low position. The great thing about this in your combinations, you can do 10 push-ups in one way with your wide position with your hands. You can do 10 push-ups with the narrow position focusing on your triceps, or you can do 10 positions with one hand high, one hand low, just alternating a little bit differently. You got to think, in the game, you're changing up where your hand position is when you're doing a pushing motion in the game. Here we're moving into some sit-ups and core body strengthening. This is a great exercise we call the taco. This is when you're pushing your legs up in the air as well as your upper body up in the air, pivoting on your hip bone. Try not to put too much pressure or pushing yourself up with that hand that is on the ground. Utilize your stomach muscles to maneuver your legs as well as your upper body. This is probably one of the toughest sit-ups you can probably do. Here you have the bicycle. The player's arms and legs are moving simultaneously with each other, working as pistons, going from right to left. It's a great exercise for your core when you can engage your legs as well as your upper body. Here you have the player bringing his legs and arms up together, trying again, pivot on his lower back, focusing on his lower hips. Do these exercises for about 30 to 20 seconds and move on to the next. This is a nice exercise to use. You can use 3 different variations here. You can do the freestyle kick or the flutter kick. You can move it into the scissor kick, moving your legs up and over each other, as well as just keeping them still 6 inches off the ground. The air squat is a great exercise for players because it's exactly what an egg beater looks like underwater. The knees come up into your groin, your wide frame allows for great foundation in the water. I highly recommend, if you're not using a weight room, that you're doing many air squats. A couple things to look out for here. Pay attention to your knees not going past your toes. If your knees go past your toes, you're putting too much pressure on your knees. The other element here is your lower back. Keep it as flat as possible, almost as though you're sitting down in a chair. The other thing that will help you with this is keeping your head up. Here, this player has a deep squat. He goes past his 90 degree. Not too many athletes can do this. You can either go a deep squat, but again, make sure those knees don't go past the toes too far. The one-legged lunges. You can alternate them, or you can work on one leg for 10 reps in a row. This is great. Reach out as far as possible. Again, the knee is very important to not go past the toes, to not to put too much pressure on the kneecap. Your back knee, the one that is dropping down to the ground. If you can come within a half an inch to an inch from the ground, you're getting a good reach on it. Also, it's very important that you keep your back stiff and still, just like the air squats. Don't hunch over that knee that you're stepping with. Stay up in the vertical position with your upper body. To combine your air squats with explosive movements, we have a genie here for you. We call this the genie. You're standing in a genie-like situation where you're going into a deep squat to a vertical jump. snapping off those toes, trying to get as high as you can. Planks, another great exercise or strengthening skill that you can use prior to games or after workouts. Here you'll notice a player in the planks with his hands on the ground, keeping his body as flat as possible, not arching his back either with his bottom up or down. Here you also can go to your elbows. We call these the thinkers. Your objective in these planks is to keep that body straight. Any kind of bent or dip in it is bad body positioning. Here our player does variations with planks. You can do the two-handed planks, or you can alternate your hands. Alternate your left and right hand off the ground, holding it with just your opposite legs and arms. If you can become more advanced in your planking positions, you can actually do one of the hardest things is the same arm, same leg side. It's a very difficult drill to do, but it adds a strong core sense to your body. Here we have some of the side planks. Elevating one leg and one arm. This gives great strength to the shoulders without a lot of tension or pressure on them. A stronger core prevents injuries in the limbs, the arms and the legs. A lot of athletes that I've used to play with have a lot of back injuries. The back extensions are a great exercise to strengthen those muscles around this vertebrae to allow the vertebrae to have less pressure on it. Here are some back extensions of alternating the arms and legs, right and left, or left and right, and then a combination of both. Add these drills together to give your whole body workout. Add your push-ups to your squats, to your one-legged lunges, to your sit-ups, all in one. That way you can actually work the entire body and prepare yourself for the water. Again, if you notice, these players have been working for about 20 to 25 minutes on land prior to getting in the water. Some of them even break a sweat. To conclude our Dryland exercises, it's extremely important that you put yourself on land prior to getting in the water. It prevents injuries. It allows your body to maximize its potential when you're running the drills or skills that we're about to show you. We're about to show you some great exercises that we use in our own practices for water polo swimming. This will help you also get conditioned as well as prepare yourself as a warm-up before you start your practices. Let's take a look at them and let's see what you can do with them. Here you notice we have a fly free. This is the butterfly arms, big, strong, powerful pull that it's allowing the upper body to get out of the water with a strong freestyle kick. Here you can see vertical fly. Many variations of the vertical fly. What I prefer to do is two breaststroke kicks to one pull. Now if you notice, it's a vertical fly. The rib cage is getting out of the water with a strong pull of the arms, and then your two kicks. One's a short kick, and then one's a long, powerful kick. As you see underwater, you can see the kicks clearly here. One is a short, quickness, fast twitch, with the long power, it actually moves with the arms at the same time. Here we have the vertical breast. Now it's unique because it's also a horizontal breaststroke as you come up and you finish your vertical. Notice in the vertical breast, both arms are pushing down towards their waist. It's not just the breaststroke stroke with the arms. They're pushing down towards the waist, trying to elevate 1/2 to an inch higher than without the arms. Here you also see a little bit of a double kick. It's one short kick with a long kick as they kick out and horizontal and glide through the water. So your first motion is going vertical, and then you reach out in front of you with the horizontal arms and your body. Flutter kick, one of the most unused drills today that I've seen a lot of players aren't able to do. Here's a drill that you can see with the head up, kicking a lot of white water behind him, his hands out in front working on his sculling position. If you can keep your chest out of the water as high as possible, as well as keep your feet exiting the pool, you're going to have a great flutter kick that you can utilize in any part of your game. This is a fun drill to use to incorporate the legs as well as the arms. You want to go 5 hard strokes with your head up, creating a lot of white water. You want to go from that horizontal position to that vertical position that's going to propel yourself out of the water to do a full 360 rotation. Change it up. Spin to your left one time, to your right the other time. The key component here is when you surface the water after your 360 that your head is above the water. That way your vision of the game is still ahead of you. Here's a great conditioning drill that we use prior to games as well as prior to practice before we really get into our swimming. Suicide drills. Taking this drill from basketball, from going line to line on the court, we do it in the pool. This helps us work on our change of directions, and during that change of directions, there's great opportunities to have some variation in the drill. During our suicides, in the middle portion of the suicide, make sure you change it up. We'll show you a couple variations that you can use, but be creative in your own game. Here on the first variation, you can see a reach stroke drill. Now he's really trying to elevate with that reach and lunge forward, almost as though you're going to knock somebody down, a lunge KO. Notice these drills in the suicide, you have the player swim with their head up. Keep your head up, as though you're pushing yourself through the drill on a counterattack on the offensive defensive side of the game. Here on the second variation, you can notice an actual fill blocking position. You're rotating over your hips, stepping with that leading hand that's going to enter the water. That way you have that foundation created for you, and kind of lean on that hand. And as you're leaning on that hand, you're going to elevate to make a field block. Make sure when you walk out about 4 or 5 meters in that field blocking, you finish it with a big lunge as though you're blocking the ball. This is a great technique that utilizes the entire body. You can do variations of combinations of push-ups to sit-ups to air squats. You can change it up. Notice here, you're getting out of the water at each end of the pool. You're in your sprint, head-up freestyle. At one end, you'll do maybe push-ups. At the other end, you can do sit-ups, or you can do a combination of all three. Another great technique to go from that horizontal position to your KO lunge or your forward lunge is go 5 strokes hard freestyle with your head up, straight into 5 lunges, back to your 5 freestyles. You can also change the directions on this if you wish, but make this hard. Notice the high intensity here. A lot of white water is being created. You have to work on your fast twitch in this game. The game is moving to fast twitch. No longer can a slow twitch player take their game to the next level, at the college game or the international. If we can emulate the game into our practices by going 100%, we can bring that to the game. Band work. What a great exercise this is. It's torture on the players and it's entertaining for the coaches. You have players out there using these bands at all different levels. It's usually a swimming thing, but we use it for many different aspects of their game. As you can see here in this playing ability, we have a player swimming out as far as he can for a minute straight. And you'll notice that his legs, he goes from kicking freestyle to kicking breaststroke to kicking egg beater. You can change it in combinations in any way you want. What is important here is that the player is learning to swim through resistance. Most times we are being either held or grabbed or pushed under, but we need to keep our arms going. And if we can keep our arms going, selling it to the referee that we're being held, it goes to our advantage in a kick out. This is a perfect illustration of what it takes to push through that threshold of being held with a band and still being able to swim. Be creative in your drills. Right here we have our egg beater working on his frame, working on his leg strength. And the greatest thing about the band is that the energy level increases the further you get. So it pushes the athlete to its max. I love doing this for our goalies, as well as our 2-meter defenders and offensive players. It's very important that their leg strength is the strongest in the pool. The band allows them to feel strong, to get strong, and push that mental toughness past that threshold that they never thought they could do. Another drill besides the egg beater is also use the breaststroke kick. If you notice in a lot of our drills with a heavy ball or weight belts or bands, the breaststroke kick is utilized as much as the egg beater. The breaststroke kick is a powerful kick, and the band allows us to utilize that power. So now we're being a little creative with our band. We're putting it outside of just the training techniques, but also the faking techniques. When we put a ball in a player's hand. Because you'll see a player going into a shooting position with a fake. He's working on his tripod position with his leading hand sculling and his legs pushing him forward. Now, if we can do this for 15, 20, 30 seconds, you're going to wear down your players, but it's going to pay off in the fourth quarter when it's crucial time to score a goal. One thing to pay close attention to is your leading shoulder. Make sure you keep proper body positioning. Don't have your leading shoulder enter the water. If you can maintain your leading shoulder above the water with that leading hand sculling you up, you have created yourself a good body positioning with the ball. You'll notice the work rate on the underwater cameras from the legs and the leading hand. Look how hard they're working. They're trying to maintain and push them forward. This is a great work rate. This is a great drill to utilize for the power strength of a breaststroke kick with the ball. This drill is actually used a lot in the front court positioning when you're moving into open pockets to establish your shooting lanes or re-establish new shooting lanes. This allows the resistance from the band and the power generated from the breaststroke kick and the leading hand in the water to gain that ground on your defender or your goalie. Utilize this drill as much as you can. Now in the dives, you'll notice the player going from the vertical to the horizontal position. He snaps his legs underneath him to put him in the vertical to allow him to get his chest out of the water in a big fake. As soon as he drops down, his legs go back into a horizontal position with a powerful breaststroke kick to re-establish new position or get into that open pocket in front of him. Again, the band work is just another illustration to how to work your body or your legs in this game of water polo and the physical aspect of it. If you can utilize the bands or get a hold of a band, you'll notice the power and the strength that you will receive from it in the actual game. Go out there and enjoy them. They're a lot of fun. Dive forward, step back drill. You're diving in the open water in front of you with your leading hand, going from your vertical position to your horizontal position in a breaststroke kick. Now it's very important to work on this drill. You go 2 forward, 1 back. You can go 1 forward, 1 back. What you're utilizing is the position underwater, really focusing on your hips, your legs, getting you from one point and reversing that motion back. In the underwater cameras, I really want you to notice that the body goes from a straight vertical position with a tripod position to a horizontal position. Notice how he elongates his body when he's diving forward as well as stepping back, and then snapping his legs back underneath him to maintain that vertical position to either pass or shoot the ball. It's important in this drill when you're diving forward and you're stepping back, the ball stays dry. Anytime the ball enters the water, a defensive player can jump on you and surprise you. Keep that ball dry. In your fake forward stepping back drill, this is great for a zone or a splitting defense. This is when you're attacking the defense and the defense jumps out on you and you're keeping the ball live. And you step back to absorb that movement or anticipate his jump on you, but immediately going back into the attack. It's great to see the legs in a split egg beater, snapping your body and your hips back into a position of protecting, and then bringing your knees back into you to allow you to get back to that vertical. Notice the work rate on the legs, as well as the leading hand, the tripod hand. This elevates you an inch, a half an inch, just to give you that edge to pass over or around your defender. So in your diving up, you're trying to find open water or moving through the pockets, open space. You're also learning to create new shooting lanes where the defense doesn't move as fast or as powerful as your breaststroke kick. Again, this is very similar of diving forward. Your leading hand is allowing you to have the foundation to get your legs back underneath you to get back to the vertical. Without that leading hand, your legs would struggle to get in the vertical. Really emphasize when you're doing this that when you go back to the vertical after your dive, that you get past your rib cage, get back in the attack. Make the defense honor you before you move to the next move. This next leg exercise with the walking tripod position is a great attack using a weighted ball. It puts a little more pressure on the defensive legs and makes the work rate of the legs that much stronger than just using a regular ball. This is a great conditioning tool. We use this very often in our program. Notice in the tripod position, his rib cage is out of the water. His leading hand is out in front of him, sculling, maintaining or protecting him from the defense. His leading leg, which is directly underneath his left shoulder, keeping him balanced and vertical. His back leg, or his right leg for a right-hander, is keeping it back, pushing him forward, keeping him in the attack. In these bad clips, we're going to show you if the offensive player is leaning too much forward. His sculling hand is not keeping his leading shoulder out of the water. The other thing you'll notice on the underwater cameras on the bad positioning is the leading leg is behind the defender. It's not directly underneath him. So almost both legs are pushing him forward. Yeah, you're moving quicker, but you're not maximizing your height. Take the drill one step further. Add a little bit of a rhythm or fake to your tripod. Just keep a small rhythm. There's no need to go crazy with your fake. A small rhythm allows you to stay in control. It keeps your body balanced. It also keeps your tripod in firm control of your body. Look at the work rate from the legs and the leading hand in your rhythm fake. They're keeping you up. They're keeping you moving forward and being aggressive. Really pay attention to that when you're doing this. Another drill to help you stay vertical and not lean too far forward is lifting that leading hand or that tripod hand out of the water. This forces your legs to stay underneath you to maintain a vertical position. If you didn't have that arm, you would fall forward if you had poor position with the legs. On this player with the weighted ball, you'll notice his leg position, his knees are extremely wide. This allows him to have a great foundation and stay balanced in the water. The wider your knees, the higher your knees are up into your body, makes the perfect egg beater. An infamous line in a movie, "The legs feed the wolves," is no better said in water polo. If you have strong legs, you have vision of the game. You can see above everybody else. Work hard on your legs, just as much as you swim. And this will open up the game to new heights and new levels for you. We have our players doing the heavy ball drill to push their legs to the next level. It's very important that not only are they doing it with their hands, but they're also putting weight to their body. You can put weight belts on, or you can use heavy ball. In this drill, we have a heavy ball. I want you to notice the leg position. If you can notice the knees as high as possible and as wide as possible, creating a great foundation, a balanced foundation. You can do this for 40 seconds on with 20 seconds rest. We call it the 40-20 drill. This next drill is a little bit more advanced. What we're doing is a heavy ball drill with a big breaststroke kick or an explosion out of the water every 5 or 10 seconds, depending on your ability. You can do this for 30 seconds on and 30 seconds rest, or you can do a 40-20, 40 seconds on, 20 seconds rest. You do this drill 10 to 12 times at a time. If you notice the underwater camera, you'll see the work rate of the legs and the wide frame that this player has. This is a perfect egg beater, perfect position to keep the ball above the water. If you also notice the work rate of his legs, when he goes to jump up, both his legs start to generate more force, and he ends it with a big breaststroke kick, which elevates his body, his torso, out of the water. So this is a heavy ball drill with swimming. This is our game. Going from wrestling or ball or leg control to straight to a sprint or lunges. So we utilize it in this drill. In this, you'll see our player, he holds the ball up for 10, 15, 20 seconds, depending on who you are, and he goes straight into a sprint. The sprint can be a 50 freestyle sprint, it could be a 25-yard freestyle sprint. We like to try to have our guys swim with their head up the whole time, just like a game. The other thing, if you don't have any heavy balls, you can easily partner up with somebody and wrestle with each other into your sprints. If you notice in this player, his work rate of his legs, straight into a breaststroke kick to get his body going into the swim. Also, you'll notice in a change of direction, his head is up the whole time, recognizing the visual of the playing field, and his kick. A lot of whitewater in a kick. Most players don't utilize the kick, a freestyle kick. This is what gets us from point A to point B. The arms are just the boat, the steering wheel, but the legs is the motor. We all love to shoot. How do we simulate the game in our shooting? Use a heavy ball over your head for 15, 20 seconds, just like you see this player. Going from throwing the ball as hard as he can to receiving 6 different balls to shoot the ball. Now you're working on shooting the ball in a tired state, working on proper body positioning, but also being fatigued at the same time. It's very important that we are able to shoot the highest quality, the highest level shot in the 4th quarter, just like we did in the 1st quarter. In this next drill, you'll notice just a different variation from receiving the ball dry after doing a leg set with a heavy ball to going from the horizontal position to the vertical position of shooting the ball. Again, you can have 6 shots, 5 shots, 4 shots. The concept is to try to get the player fatigued prior to shooting the ball to really make him mentally stay focused in a state of tiredness. The heavy ball is important for all aspects of the game. I challenge you to go purchase one. We use it in everyday drills, in our everyday techniques, with our passing and shooting. Take these drills, put combinations with them, swimming, legs, to shooting, to passing, but make sure you utilize the heavy ball. This is a wrestle to swim drill. You wrestle for 15-20 seconds to immediate sprint, head up, back to a wrestle for 15 to 20 seconds. The partner drills are great drills to watch as a coach. This is when two people are battling for position, going into a sprinting, back to a battle position, wrestling position. You notice in this drill you have two players wrestling with each other for about 10 to 15 seconds, really taking it to the next level. And then immediately go into a 15-meter sprint, 25-meter sprint, or 50-meter sprint. Basically, you're emulating the game. Here you'll notice when they're wrestling with each other, they're trying to control or maintain control of the elbows and arms. The other one thing you can add to this drill is you wrestle for about 15, 20 seconds, and then you grind it out swim. Basically, a grind out swim is when you're cutting each other off, trying to beat each other down the pool, burying into each other or barreling into each other. You're grinding it down. It's okay to be more aggressive than normal in a game here. You're trying to add the element of physicality to the game as well as being a clean player. Immediately when you get back, jump on each other again. You're trying to get each other to be aware of each other. Trying to be one step ahead mentally, and that way you anticipate him jumping on you or you're anticipating jumping on the other guy. Check out the action that you see underwater, how physical and hard they're countering each other, how they're pulling at each other, their leg work is going hard, and they're trying to maneuver themselves in a position where they're not taken advantage of. Here's a push war. The push war, you can add a couple different things after you get done pushing each other. Your arms are locked in the shoulder motion, you're looking at each other, you're pushing on each other with a horizontal egg beater. 10, 15 seconds, depending on how long you want it to be. Immediately you release from each other and you go about 4 or 5 meters away from each other working on your defensive skills. Whether it's your KO lunge, or you're working on your field blocking, or you're working on sprinting back with your reach freestyle. Change it up. Add different combinations to it. Work on your defensive skills as well as leg strength. In the push war drill underwater, you're going to see the work rate of the legs. I want you to also notice the work rate of the legs going from their pushing on each other to a defensive drill from behind them. Arm lock drill. The arm lock drill is great for offensive players and defensive players to have some type of body contact and resistance against each other while maintaining control of the ball. This puts a lot of effort and energy on top of each other, and notice that their body's in a 45-degree angle to maintain their vertical or above waterness, as well as not losing ground behind them. Now think, if you had both your legs underneath you, one player would be able to push you back. This split egg beater from underneath the water, you're going to notice that one leg is behind you, pushing you forward, maintaining your ground, as well as one leg is directly underneath your shoulders to maintain a vertical position. The dead man swimming drill. This is a killer drill. There's 3 people in your group. One guy sits and waits while the other 2 battle it out for position. You wrestle for about 5 or 10 seconds, you release from each other, and you grind out your swim. Now the first person back gets to sit out. The guy who always loses continues the drill. You wear him down. The guy waiting there is waiting to jump on him. In the swimming part, in the grinding part, once you have inside water or you're leading your guy, don't just take off to the races. There are times in this game where you're going to be in a position where the person next to you is faster than you. So how do you stay in position? You cut them off. You keep them on your back. Doesn't matter how slow or fast you are, but if you can stay in front of somebody, you'll always beat them to the point A or point B. The shield drill, the human shield. In this drill, it's great for everybody in the game. Any offensive player that wants to manhandle the ball. In this drill, you'll notice the offensive player is not allowed to touch the ball. but what his job is to maintain the ball and protect the ball from the defensive player. The majority of the time, you'll notice the offensive player has his back to the defense. He's not allowed to face the defensive player trying to get to the ball. You notice the offensive player has to use a split egg beater to defend the defender from the ball. This is a great drill to learn body positioning or body control in the water. From the overhead view, you're going to see how the offensive player's arms are wide out, his wide frame. That's his water. He's allowed to maintain and control his water. He keeps his arms and elbows out wide, but one thing he doesn't do, he doesn't bring his elbows back past his upper body in an offensive motion. This is a referee can cause an offensive in this, or you can accidentally hit somebody behind you. Keep your arms straight in a straight line from one elbow to the next elbow. This is your water. Learn to protect it. Be creative in your partner drills. Partner drills are the best drills out there to be able to work with. You can wrestle with each other, you can sprint with each other, you can have fun, and really learn to conquer each other. I want to thank you for watching the videos today. I hope you gained some value from the skills and techniques that you saw, as well as the professional clips that you were able to see when and how it was supposed to be done in the game. It's important for you to stay disciplined to your training, as well as pay attention to the small details. It'll help your game get to the next level. I hope to see you at the pool deck sometime soon, and whenever you're available or want performance water polo camps to come see you, please contact us through www.pwpcamp.com. Thank you for coming.